From the home offices of Ash and Flo, this is Unbillable Hours, a podcast about professional services marketing. Stick around to listen to our insights, tips, and best practices to improve your firm's marketing and even your career.
Welcome to a new episode of Unbillable Hours. This time we have an edit of a much longer conversation Flo and I had with Seb Robert, who is the founder and CEO of Gophr, a B2B platform and marketplace for same-day delivery, and Gophr's marketing director, Chris Mason. They gave us some really good insights into their complex service and their multi-layered marketing strategy, and that's why we bring this conversation to you. There's a lot of insights for you guys, and especially those amongst you who need to market such a complex service to a heterogeneous market. So, without much further ado, just let's get into Seb telling us how he started Gophr.
I came to Gophr by accident, basically, because I started out doing a project management workshop, and then they told us to have a startup idea when we came to the table. I just wanted to apply it to my work at the agency that Chris and I worked at, and then it just snowballed from there. So based off the back of a bad delivery experience, which everybody has had, so I was waiting on a sofa, and I was supposed to be delivered between 8 and 2, and then it didn't arrive until 4. I'd taken a half day off work, and then I still couldn't go into work afterwards, and it was just all a bit of a nightmare, and I just couldn't understand why I couldn't just call the driver and find out exactly where it was, or track him on a map and make decisions accordingly. And then it just went from there. So that was whenever it was. I mean, I think it was probably around 2012. And then that set me on about 18 months worth of research. And what I found was absolutely fascinating. So nobody was happy on either the courier or the customer side. And I felt that we could probably make a difference. So that's how Gophr kind of came about.
And then Chris, can you run marketing for Gophr, right? Can you maybe also just describe what the platform is, or do you refer to the service as a platform? Can you give us the boilerplate about Gophr?
Give us the line.
Yeah.
Give us the line.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but it has to be done so that people know what we're talking about.
Like what it is we actually do is like same day delivery for business, right? That's the kind of, that's like the functional bit. Essentially, we're trying to create a platform that gives every business access to good delivery, to really good enterprise quality delivery and pricing, and every courier access to good business. Because if we make it effectively and we provide that exchange, because the ultimate output is like, can we help independent couriers grow? Because if independent couriers are growing, it means we're providing them with more high quality work. And it also means we're helping them grow because we're helping them deliver more effectively, which is better for business, which is better for couriers, which is better for business, which is better for couriers. And I think if we provide that platform that's sort of, again, designed for business but built for couriers, so it helps couriers win and businesses win, then that's our sort of job. But it's never one at the detriment of the other, because I think other platforms have come along and said, we can deliver same day, great for business, and we'll do these rates and we'll do this. And then the courier gets screwed. But it's not sustainable. It just isn't sustainable. It doesn't work.
And you started out working with bike couriers exclusively, right? And now you have a variety of...
Yeah, we started out originally with cycle couriers because that's how we wanted to initially build a circuit with SMEs in a very enclosed space. So we started out with 2 to 3 cycle couriers, and then eventually moved up through the gears with cargo bikes, motorcycles, cars, small vans, large vans, within the space of about 9 to 12 months. And then continues, all of that was very much just like pick up, drop off, not necessarily express, because broadly from a technological perspective, our job is to make sure that the price per mile that a courier is traveling keeps going up. So as soon as the courier accepts their first job, we've got their vector, we know the size of the vehicle and the capacity of the vehicle, and our job is effectively to squeeze as much work along that vector as possible without putting any of their existing pickup and delivery deadlines at risk. That's a very simple on-the-ground explanation of what it is that we do, but there's a lot more that kind of goes on,
Yeah, even that kind of optimization must be fairly complex, to say the least.
Yeah, it's like I suppose it's like the Uber pool model, but then, instead of having 4 or 5 seats in the car that you need to assign, you've got
cubic meters or something.
And then
packages of all sizes.
And then you've got to make sure that you're enabling, you're getting those passengers by specific areas, by specific deadlines. Right?
It would be fair to say, for me, that you inserted yourself into a market that already existed, right? Because cyclic couriers were there, the businesses shipping stuff were there, but these processes had like tons of friction, and your platform takes care of all of these and takes them all away, or most of them.
Exactly. I mean, on the customer side, what you tend to find is whether it's an individual SME or like enterprise / blue chip company, like their main concerns with the logistics industry or the parcel delivery industry, which people put the average NPS for that industry anywhere between 0 or -9 in the States, all the way up to maybe 32, 33. And the frustration really comes down to lack of visibility or transparency as to what's going on, lack of flexibility to do anything, particularly when a job is mid-flight, and a sort of a feeling of, no control or zero optionality in terms of like, it's there or it's not, or the delivery has failed, or you're going to have to go to a store to go and pick it up, or whatever. It's fine, but it's not great. So, the ability to be able to automate and optimize in real time, should unlock significantly more opportunity for the customer, the courier, and the consumer.
That's interesting, because you just put my mind racing, because when you describe it, it seems it's at the same time, it seems a very particular marketing challenge and full of complications, but then also it's at the same time sounds familiar because of the, like, first and foremost, you pointed out, it's for everybody. Like, that's just the reality of every consulting practice you walk in ever. Like I said, with the automotive practice, you go to automotive guys, you ask them, okay, who's this for? It's for the automotive industry. I'm like, okay,
it's for the consumer goods. That's what we come in. Like,
okay, guys, marketing 101, that is not a segment. You have not given me a segment. You've given me everything. Who's it for? It's for the C-suite. I'm like, oh, this is getting better by the minute. So these problems exist in our world as well.
It's a really difficult thing to do because, Chris, tell me if I'm wrong here, but it's like, who is our audience? And I'm like, well, we're trying to build a solution which is like delivery.
This is every marketer's dream.
Yeah.
Who's the audience? Everyone. Let me write that down. Let me write that down, because it's not just. It's like it's kind of people who. It's small businesses, it's medium enterprises, and then it's large enterprises.
Yeah.
So how. And potentially like cross sectors. So you don't necessarily have an amazingly clear shot at, it's everyone. So how do you become everything to everyone? So that's the sort of content piece that we're kind of unpicking.
And then it became like architecture firms, small legal firms, all of that kind of stuff. Anybody who was just like normally booking or making a call for a courier or whatever. And that was much easier. But then, enterprise like customers started coming in, delivery from retail store, grocery, food, all of that stuff started hitting. And then it's like, okay, right. Who needs delivery? Oh, like everyone. Right. Okay.
But then on the jump of that, it's like who needs delivery content?
Yeah.
So you've got the marketing side of things, which is essentially speaking to small medium businesses and being, like greater awareness, greater sort of just more likability, to be known, to be liked, to be memorable is the opportunity for small businesses. I think, trying to be more useful for them in content. I'm not sure it necessarily works. I think from a product perspective, it should be the focus, but then you've got these different tiers. And
you've probably done that, but would there be any merit in tiering the audiences by buyer sophistication? You know what I mean? Do you need to educate them on how big a business pain last mile logistics is? Like, these are the rookies, right? Or is this some enterprise operations guy who knows this, like to the decimal point, how much it costs, and they come to you because they just want self-service and it works?
Right. So it's kind of there's all weirdly there's not, and you're laughing your tits off because this is like my nightmare. It's like, who's your audience? Everyone. Okay, and then it's actually unpicking the data to understand who actually is our audience, because we can go into it and say everyone, but actually what does the data say, which is a big thing. We're trying to sort of unravel 5 years of data to understand actually we've got this gut, but who actually is that, and then we can start to target. But in the meantime, you've got this kind of, we almost have to segment at a small business level. You know, like we know roughly the sorts of small businesses that have a same day muscle. So it's florists, office managers, pharmacies. You know, they either have an existing same day muscle, or they have the potential to use same day like quite quickly. So it's understanding, and then it's understanding maybe not necessarily specifically what business size or what business sophistication of same day. That might be more like emotional messaging. So it might be talking to small retailers who are creators, who are artisans, who care about their product, and you have to show that what we do is great delivery because we actually look after your package and deliver it in the way that you would want to deliver it. So we know we won't let you down, which is why we're reliable. So you've kind of like, that's more messaging and how you your service. But then you've got the medium enterprise people, which is what you're talking about, which is the level of sophistication. It's like, you know, how does someone who's in a job title that's got, you know, logistics or fulfillment in a different city, but in a city that's not London, you know, what are their logistics needs?
Exactly.
And you can, because you know the enterprise guys, it's like they want to know hardcore into, you know, they want stuff that's going to help them develop plans, develop rollouts, introduce them to new services. So they want not dry, but you know, they've got a certain level of knowledge and sophistication.
Well, they are much clearer on what they actually want from you. They have that figured out, whereas the others might not even know. Like they might get the idea of Gophr and it sounds nice, but what exactly would I want to buy from you? Help me figure that out.
Exactly. Or you can do slightly more sophisticated stuff, and you can look at, you know, we're getting better at speaking to sales and you know, sales and product in terms of, so, you know, well, like, you know, if you've done 15 different onboards with enterprise clients, like, what are the things that keep on coming up, and how can we potentially start to address these problems before? So we did a piece called Delivery Pilot on a Page, because we're doing loads of different delivery pilots, and we're seeing the same kind of problems, or we're seeing like gaps in terms of what the plan is. Why don't we just sort of create like a lean business template-esque model and just say, if you were to take this and if you can fill this in, then you're ready to pilot, and we can help you fill in the bits that you need. Kind of, you can go to that level of understanding with them. And I think we're understanding from an enterprise sale, because we've had that enterprise sales experience, where the gaps are, what kind of things we're having to explain. If the sales guys are having to explain, look, there are actually 7 different ways you can do same day, and it's about finding the right blend for you in terms of cost, consistency, you know, radius, then we can maybe package those and we can maybe explain those ahead of time, because we know that's a useful piece. So I think having that connection with the sales team, and having a sales team who are sort of really hungry for insights, is really useful. It's that middle enterprise layer, like maybe the smaller buyer who's maybe got to do a few different things at once. It's like that for me has been the most difficult thing in terms of trying to find out what their insights and their pain points are, because they tend to be a mix of self-serve as opposed to full onboarding. So you don't really get that understanding. But I think that's my sort of challenge the next couple of months, is nailing those guys and figuring out how to be more useful and valuable for them.
And Seb, there's no silver lining for Chris in the future of making a clear decision which segment. Like, you're not going to say we no longer take enterprise clients.
Yeah, I think segmenting is definitely in our future. I think at this point in time, sometimes we're just having to be a little bit more pragmatic and maximize what it is that we're doing, what we've got. And the thing is, I think also we're still, you know, I mean, we've been around 6 years now, but it's like, to all intents and purposes, I feel like we've been in stealth mode pretty much for all of that time. And, you know, we had raised like £1 million over that 5 years, but given what we were trying to do, that's pretty much like, that's not far off bootstrapping, frankly. You know, and I mean, within our cohort, that original cohort, we were part of that whole kind of Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Stuart, who are still around, but then there's a bunch of others that were just incredibly well financed names that I could rattle off, but like all of these, and we're starting to see that kind of come back around again. So back then it was like express delivery on 2 wheels, which really ultimately from a technology perspective wasn't really that hard. You could use cab app technology off the shelf, and it was just as simple as closest courier or driver to the pickup point gets the notification, goes straight to the delivery point, and then starts the cycle all over again, which is very much all you need is just 2 GPS points. So from a technological perspective, very, very simple. We took a slightly different approach, but we wanted to go to the thick end of the wedge in terms of complexity from a technology perspective. So it's like, okay, minimum 6 different vehicle types. How many sort of services can you break down for a same-day courier company that does B2B? Well, it's probably at least 10. And then within that, in order to mitigate against any problems and actually build a system that can automate like what a lot of these back office human resource people do, from customer service through to dispatch, through to coordinating, through to accounting, finance, credit control, blah, 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 payments, all of that. The aim of this game is to build the most scalable system. You have to have the highest number of pickup and drop density in order to then be able to keep drivers on the road at all times for all those vehicle types across all of those services. And I think that was really terrifying when we were like trying to sort of walk through that hellfire of like having raised a small amount of money, but being surrounded by these like, 600-pound gorillas with deep pockets that ultimately in believing in the strategy that you've got, which is to try and serve the widest amount, because ultimately that's the only way that you're going to win. Like that technology from the food delivery guys, the cab app technology lent itself incredibly well to that particular use case, but they still struggle. Even now they still struggle with making a sustainable business model that doesn't lose cash, right? And I think
that would be my layman's bet, that you might come out as the last man standing, so to speak, when these guys have all run. It's surprising to me how much momentum they have.
Thanks for your vote of confidence there, but having said that, we were net profitable last year, and it's kind of and actually we were forced to think that way because it's a long game. Like even in the first interview that I had with a managing director of a same-day courier company was saying, look, this is either going to cost a shitload of money or it's going to take an awful long time. And we kind of took the time route because we didn't want to scale up too fast without understanding at a granular level what the problems were going to be. And the thing was, we didn't want to take any shortcuts by having people from the existing courier industry come in and tell us how things were done. It doesn't make it any easier, but at the end of the day, like, Chris and I sat with the leadership team yesterday, and, we're all pretty much on board with taking the same approach, which is just actually be a little bit patient for now. Just do what we can, given what we've got. And we've got more than we need right now. And then eventually we can really go to town in terms of like breaking stuff granularly and being very specific about how we segment and hit channels.
But that's it's interesting, the situation you described. What does it mean for the marketing function? Or the function is just Chris, I take it?
No.
Because what you're saying is let's go broad, see what we can find. That's one aspect I'm hearing. Then the other is it's probably not too big a budget for marketing overall, and also there's an expectation of let's not grow too fast. Keep it steady until we have hardened all the systems. So that's a lot of constraints for you, Chris.
So there's a bit of that, right? So there's effectively, we have sort of spent like 5 or 6 years understanding what the problem is and like slowly building our existing product around like the priorities that our customers and our couriers had, but at the same time lining up a load of stuff within the product development roadmap that we think is probably going to, potentially as game-changing outcomes for the industry. But we're playing catch up, right? We just closed our Series A on Christmas Eve, just gone, and actually Chris has got more money than he needs. Like, but at the same time, it's kind of like we're also mindful that we need to manage our marketing around sort of product development, releases and situations.
From a budget perspective, there isn't. It's one of those that isn't really a constraint, but it's actually the challenge is working out is it the right time and the right amount of spend, because the other, like, not to throw another shit show of a challenge into the marketing kind of thing, but it's also there's also a localized component. So same day works on a city to city basis. Like, to win it same day, you win city to city. So not only do you have to look at the small, the medium, and the larger enterprises, you also have to apply a localized filter to that. So you have to look at which cities can potentially sustain a certain volume of intra-city deliveries from small, medium businesses. So you have this kind of added complexity of marketing that not only, like, you can't go out to all small business owners and say, hey, this is, we can deliver this. You've got to get all business owners in Bristol or in Manchester and do it that way. So you have this kind of like layer of, and then also, because you're going to people who've got the same day muscle and the same day need now, they've already got careers in place. And it's quite strange going in and talking to sort of, I think a massive part of what I've been trying to do is to talk to a lot of these small businesses and not make assumptions about how they work, because you go in thinking we're a tech brand and they're desperately going to want to, use an app to dial a courier, because why would you phone up a courier? And in fact, I've spoken to office managers and they're sort of, no, actually, like, do you have a phone number? Because I want to call someone and book it. And this is the way I've done it. So there's an education piece as well as a localization piece and a targeting piece. And it's kind of quite, it's seeing just, maybe you don't segment at a certain level. Maybe there's a point you just go, it's just brand awareness and a loose sense of message and what the brand feels like, right? They know we do same day and they know we feel like the kind of courier who will not let them down. And that might be enough for the vast majority.
You might say you have a messaging constraint when you look at your various stakeholders in various groups, because you have to say one thing to the people, who are the couriers, while you have to say certain things to the business and geography. So would you say it's like an interesting messaging issue there?
Yeah, and it's like brand versus service, right? It's kind of, as you go more enterprise, you want to get more into the weeds of the different sorts of same day delivery. Whereas for the other end, it might be just a brand that I can trust, that I can rely on. And I know that if I do need same day, you're there when I Google you, basically, if I need something delivered. So it's that range of kind of requirements. And it's also just working out, I mean, we do have, we have clear sorts of macro segments in terms of, retail, grocery, pharma, that's where the same day demand is. But it's like within those different segments, where do you start to make considered bets?
Yeah, it's the same pain. It's the same pain as we have in professional services with the bloody industry segments. Like, you ask the boss, "Who's this for?" and they say, "The automotive industry." And I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
but that's like, have you looked at the automotive industry recently? Like, what does
premium,
it
ultra luxury, aftermarket." We have the same kind of thing. So it's like, and we've got reams of data, and we've got a lot of clients, so we can start to sort of understand a little bit more about profitability, time to onboard, so we can start to make better educated guesses about who to target more specifically. So it's that, but just getting it set up from getting all the category landing pages set up so we have a broad retail coverage, and then maybe doing targeted campaigns around specific industries like luxury to see if they sort of take. So yeah, I think it's just about like getting the basics set up to sort of maximum sort of kind of coverage, and then making some considered bets, and database bets on who we think might convert, might be interested in this kind of service, or we can develop a service that's going to be compelling for them.
Yeah,
and that's where you play for now. And you're not trying to find segments where you could build that muscle, or is that also on?
We've been talking about it. We're looking at creative that's very much, if you were using like, same day isn't just about delivering something. Same day is making sure that you get your payday treat, or you get your last gifting, or it's like you can frame it in different ways, and that's great. And you look at it, and some of it is about making easy to access. So it's like being able to plug into different partners for retailers like a Shopify. That's kind of great. And some of it is just like almost like being there for when the market catches up, because like Amazon rocked everyone with Prime. Like beforehand, if you were doing on e-com, it was like, if you were lucky, if it was 3 to 5 days, maybe. Tracking link, well, good luck with a tracking link, and we'll charge you £6 for it. And then Amazon came along and said, free next day, and we'll tell you what stop you are. And then Amazon, which you'd have read in our latest newsletter, Amazon have folded Prime Now, which was their specialized 1 hour offering, into their, they've just got rid of it and just folded it into their main app. So Amazon hopefully is going to do that same day muscle for us for retail in a way that, because the same day muscle for grocery and convenience and hot food was kind of maybe already there. But now the expectation, if Amazon ramps up the expectation around same day.
You guys have a newsletter? How's that going? What's your take on?
I think
is the newsletter still worth having, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of, ideally it's as much about relationship building and relationship maintaining as it is about necessarily from a marketing perspective, if that makes sense. I think it's a great way to sort of keep in touch and stay valuable for clients who aren't necessarily ringing you up every time to ask you what's going on. It's like it makes you, it feels like more of the package, right? So it's as well as the email being a potential marketing tool, it's also part of the package about being a client of Gophr is we also provide you with these useful insights on a buy.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look
at it. It's that, but also it's if you think of it like that, providing insights and value for existing customers, but also potentially new customers. And it's a great way to sort of introduce yourself, and for the enterprise sales guys to talk about, it's been really great chatting to you. Also, you should probably subscribe to our newsletter. Here's a couple of issues where we talk about this hyper fast issue. So this is talking about all the things you might have heard about in terms of 15-minute ship from store deliveries, how Amazon is reacting to that. It gives you a bit of insight, and it's sort of almost like a ticking thought leadership. So thought leadership, I don't think necessarily has to be. I mean, honestly, like, when's the last time you read a thought leadership white paper end to end, cover to cover? I think you can do thought leadership within an email. Yeah, but exactly. And it's like, and if you're not reading it, and this is kind of what we're all interested in. If you're not reading them, then how do we expect someone who they've got a shit ton of stuff going on in their day jobs? How do we expect them to read thought leadership? And if I was a first timer to a brand, to a media, even to a publication, and you read one article or one issue and it was crap, why would you read it again? It's not like you've got a shortage of things to read. I think a lot of content marketers don't understand that attention is finite, especially for business content. And if you want them to read your content, it means you need them to stop reading someone else's content. So you've got to be demonstrably better. You've got to look at it and think, is this content going to be an entertaining read? Is it going to be fun to read? Is it going to really give them wisdom or knowledge or an insight that's going to make them smarter and better at their job? And then is it going to sort of, is it going to save them some time and like get to the chase quicker? And you've got to be able to at least tick a couple of those boxes, I think. It's a massive challenge. Like chucking content out the door is not a challenge. There's loads of writers, there's loads of agencies. You can brief them, they'll do an all right job. But getting content that you would think, I'd read that is,
I used to call it the kiosk test, right? I would hand back to people and say, would you pay €4 for that to get it?
Yeah.
If it wasn't a magazine stand. And I think, what for that? And I'm like, yeah, see, my point exactly.
Yeah, I think that is that you'd want to do content that people would be prepared to pay for.
Yeah.
There's so much good free content on the internet. It shouldn't be free, but it is free, and that's the mindset, and that's how we've been habituated. But it shouldn't be free. But it puts the pressure on content. Like B2B content. Just doing research sort of for it across different brands that are actually really, they're good brands and they're good product, but the content isn't built to be read. The content's all HubSpot. I think they've seen the HubSpot model, and it's kind of if you can nail all your niches and you can be everything to everybody and you can understand exactly how it works, and if your metric is just SEO and click to site and you become a bit clickbaity, but the crushing realization that you've clicked on an article And then you start reading it and you just go, this is built for robots and spiders and crawlers. This isn't built for me to read.
So hold up, guys. Let's step back from the newsletter a bit. What is your current strategy?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Let's look at the strategy overall, right?
Essentially, we've got two levers, right? We've got we want to do like the like the brand side of things, which is like, a brand that we deliver for these guys. So and when we look the kind of way you want to look and we sound right, we look like the kind of brand that you would want to have a relationship with, and then we have in-depth technical knowledge that's going to be incredibly useful and it's going to help you deliver. So you've got these kind of big and it's finding for small businesses it might be more around, I don't want to get into the weeds, I've got no time.
Yeah, it's just light touch. Yeah,
but the brand is like, if the brand feels reliable, on point, and the service kind of a snapshot looks like I could use it, then great. And then at the other end, it's kind of, well, I need API integrations. I need that sophistication, that thought leadership. Yeah. And I think if you've got those two things, if you've got a brand that everyone kind of gets, and then you've got this incredible thought leadership, I think you can start sort of look along the spectrum of, it's what you were saying, is like how much understanding of the how much understanding and how much investment. And then you can start to say, actually, this is more a brand, and then brands sort of carries on, but becomes less important, and then thought leadership.
Yeah. And thankfully, that approach has given us like really fairly, I would say, like really solid like net promoter scores. And I know like that's a metric that sometimes gets some criticism, but you got to start somewhere. But like we've been tracking at about average over the last 12 months has been like 78.3, which isn't just good for logistics, which is like normally historically sort of low rates when it comes to industry sectors, but it's really awesome in general. So I think those two things are linked in a way, like that, customers do like us, so therefore they do open up when we've got something to say. But thankfully now we've got something, we've got way more interesting stuff to say.
I see, and that's very good. It's also very interesting. Sorry to cut you short, but I have to take us to wrap because I think we're running out of time. Right. This was great. I mean, we've gone almost. I don't know how much did we block this for, but that was
we blocked it for an hour.
Fascinating conversation. So. Yeah. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for jumping on. If I'm a small business owner or a operations person in a huge enterprise, where can I find more about Gophr? That's my first question. And then Chris, if you want to point people to what's a piece of marketing work that you're particularly proud of, let's hear it. I mean, we are a marketing podcast after all.
Well, first and foremost, just go to gophr.com. There's a live chat function there, or just hit yo at Gophr. Somebody will respond by all means, or just hit me up on my Twitter handle. At Seb Robert, and
from a content perspective, if you want to keep track of what's happening in the delivery space, which is actually more interesting than you kind of think, and it impacts more it impacts your groceries, the retail of your future, all those kind of things. It's a good one. Our newsletter is worth a read. It comes out every couple of weeks, and then if you really want to get started on the same day, and if you are one of those enterprises and you think same day could be for us, then pile it on a page. Yeah, it's good. It will sort of give you a sense of where you need to be and what you need to be thinking about in order to sort of bring same day to your business.
All right, great. I'll Ash, keep me honest. I'll remember to put that in the show notes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But thanks for joining us, guys.
Sorry, I think we gave you a hell of an editing job there, but
yeah.
We'll make it happen, I think.
No, we'll make it happen. There's no worries about it. But thanks for joining us. This has been great.
Thanks for listening to Unbillable Hours. If you want more, tune in next week. You know where to find us.